I've been saying all month that this is a time of transition in our community, and it truly is a time of transition, a time of change, and a time of deep grief. And I think that it's really important for us to acknowledge that part of it, that it's a time of deep grief. And in alignment with that, my topic today is a legacy of love. And we grieve because we love. If we didn't love, we wouldn't be grieving. So we grieve because we love. And the topic, a legacy of love, came through so strongly this week. I usually don't have a topic that soon, but it came through really strongly the more I thought about Reverend Lonnie, the more I thought about love and the legacy of love that he leaves here in this place. Because he was a person that there's been an outpouring of love for, and there always has been, but particularly over this past month. But whenever anyone mentions his name, they mention love also in the same sentence. It's like Lonnie Love is his name. That's the way people refer to him. They talk about what a loving person he is and how much they learned from him about love. So he has left a legacy. A legacy is a gift that is left by an ancestor or someone who goes before, a gift that they leave behind. And so he's left a legacy of love for this community. And he and Reverend Michelle have been exemplary. They have exemplified. I'll get it. They have exemplified love. He exemplified love as an individual. They have exemplified love as a couple. And this community exemplifies love as a community. And so I think that we need to just start to bask in love right now, not ignoring the fact that we are grieving, but just basking in love. If you remember last week when I started off talking about love because I was talking about the royal wedding, and I got into that before I realized that, that's not a part of my talk today. So that didn't have anything to do with that talk, but there was a preview. It's a preview of what we're going to be talking about today. Talking about love and just really, really, really anchoring in love. This is what we want to do now, just anchoring in love. Anchoring in the love of God, because that's the only love that is, the love of God. And so I always say, you've heard me say before, that our purpose for being here, all of us have the same purpose, and that's to be carriers of God's love. We are here to be carriers of God's love. We are here to be carriers of God's love. And we do that according to our own uniqueness, according to our own individuality. Reverend Lonnie was a carrier of God's love in his own way. You're a carrier of God's love in your own way. I'm a carrier of God's love in my own way. Yet we are all here to do the same thing, to carry God's love and to carry it out into the world and to express it into the world and to be that place and space through which God can love, to be that place and space through which God can show up as what it is, as love. We think of God as being loving, and yes, God is loving, but God is love itself. God is love itself. God is the thing itself, love itself. And so that's what we want to keep coming back to during this time that we're walking through right now. Keep coming back to love. Keep coming back to love. How can I love more in this situation? How can I love? How can I heal whatever it is that I'm going through right now? Love. It's the only way we can heal anything. And I always say that the only thing that ever needs to be healed is our sense of separation from God. And once we move into alignment with God, that sense of separation ends, and there's only love, and healing happens. Let's take a breath. Reverend Michelle called me yesterday late in the afternoon and told me that she realized that Reverend Lonnie was supposed to speak today. He was scheduled to speak today. And his topic, I think, is fueling the extraordinary, because this month the theme is from the ordinary to the extraordinary. And wow, This has been an extraordinary month, hasn't it? But his topic was fueling the extraordinary. So that's the topic that will be seen on the Facebook page and on the website for today, because they didn't know that my topic was different, and I didn't know that was his topic until she sent me his talk last night. And one of the things that really struck me as I just read through what he had written, and his talk was going to be about based on The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. And he was talking about the faces of intention. And one of the faces of intention is love. And that's what he was acknowledging, the face of intention of love. And he was sharing, and he would have shared with you today, and he's sharing with you right now, that he had an opportunity to experience that face of intention, love, when he went to see John of God in Brazil. And how that changed his life, because it was pure love. He had an opportunity to experience the unconditional love of God. He was saying that he had been told that that the healing happens once you set your intention to go. Once you make reservations for that flight, the healing happens then, because that's how it works. Everything works on our intention. So once he set his intention to go, he was told that, the healing is already happening. The healing has already happened. So he went on to Brazil, and he was there for a couple of weeks. But when he first got there, he said the first thing he noticed was a real energy. There was an energy that he felt there. And that energy was so intense, and when they were sitting on the back patio with the guides who were telling them what to expect over the next couple of weeks, they were saying that you're going to be doing an inner journey here, so be open and available to everything while you're here. And he said that while he was sitting there with this intense energy, that he felt a love that grabbed him at his core and infused him with the unconditional love of God. Something he said was overwhelming, the infusion of the unconditional love of God that he felt right there. And his roommate was a man named Dave, who he had never met before, but he said he could feel it started his toes and move up through his body, and he just started to sob from the intensity of this unconditional love that he was feeling. So he threw his arms around Dave and hugged him and just sobbed. And he described Dave in Reverend Lonnie's way as a portly guy who was sort of surprised. And of course, Reverend Lonnie acknowledged that he knew that he was well loved by Reverend Michelle. He knew that he was well loved by this community, but here he was, all over this man, crying, sobbing, and Dave tolerated it. He was okay with it. He was surprised, but he was okay with it. But the point he was making was that he had never sobbed like that before, and it was the intensity of God's love that was evoking that response. And that's when he knew after that healing had happened to his physical heart as a result of this unconditional love of God that he experienced. And as I read that just a little bit last night, and then I read it again this morning, and I thought, you know what happened? He healed that sense of separation. He healed that sense of separation. And as soon as we do, it happens like that. So as soon as he moved into alignment with and was able to experience that unconditional love of God, healing happened. Healing happened instantly. And that's how it can happen for all of us. When we can move into alignment with the all that is, when we can move into alignment with the only love that is, when we can move into alignment with just unconditional love. The words can't describe love. Words can't describe love. We can just say love over and over again. And then we just get it from the energy. But when we move into alignment with that, we have healed any sense of separation that we may have. And we move into oneness, and then that's where the healing is. And so he had 5 additional years on his life as a result of that experience of God's unconditional love. Is that awesome or not? He talked about his heart operating at 10% of what it was supposed to operate at. And he made that flight to Brazil by himself. And I know you all know the story, but it's just still remarkable to me. It's still remarkable to me how God worked in his life, as his life, and how once that separation was healed, he continued to walk. So science and science and love working together. Science and love working together, and we know it's all love. We know it's all love. We know the truth, that it's all love. And so that's what I'm inviting us to do today, to see where in our lives we can love. Where in our lives can we be in service of love? Where in my life can I practice unconditional love to my neighbor, in my relationships, in the workplace, wherever? You know, I mentioned workplace, and I thought, you know, we think that life is really about, we go through life thinking that accomplishing things and making more money and getting a good job and doing and traveling and owning things is what life is all about. But you know, it really isn't. Life is all about love. Life is all about love. I used to be a hospice chaplain, and before I moved to Phoenix, and I sat with many people as they were either making their transitions or before they made their transitions. And to a person, nobody ever told me how much money they made. Nobody ever told me what kind of job they had, unless it was in relationship to something else, about things that really spoke to their hearts. Nobody ever told me how many cars they had. Nobody ever told me any of that kind of stuff. It was all about family. It was all about relationships. It was all about love that they talked about at the end of their lives. And that was so, so, so profound for me, because it gave me an opportunity to understand what's really important. What's really important. What's really important is love. That is for all of us. For all of us. For all of us in our individual lives. And when we love in our individual lives, it has a ripple effect out into the world. So we can live we can have a life, an individual life of love. We can have a home life of love. We can have a community life of love. We can love just goes, and it just goes, and it just goes. And that's what we are being called to do here now. Love of God first, always. Love of God for all of us. Love of God. Practicing the presence of God. Deepening in our spiritual practice as we go through this process. Deepening in our spiritual practice. Moving into alignment with the all that is. Moving into alignment with love. Being mindful of what we say, the words we speak. Being mindful of thoughts we think. And bringing them back to love. If you find ourselves thinking unloving thoughts, or judgmental thoughts, or blaming, or shaming, or whatever the case may be, take a deep breath and let them go. Take a deep breath and let them go. Reverend Michelle was saying, cherish this life. She says it's just a blip on the screen. Joel Goldsmith calls it a parenthesis in eternity. That's what life here is. It's a parenthesis in eternity. Think about that. Think about that. If you look up at the sky, and that's eternity, and there's just a little parenthesis there, that's the only time we're here. Isn't that sobering? It really is. So I say, wake up, folks. We have really, really, really got to live these lives that we have. This is the only one we have that we know about. I believe in reincarnation, but, you know, this is the only one I know about for sure. This is the only one you know about for sure. So we have to do it right here, right now. So we have to love right here, right now. We need to heal the relationships that we have that aren't working right here, right now, starting with ourselves. Starting with ourselves. And it's unusual to hear when we start talking about love, putting ourselves first. It's unusual to hear that. But this is the oxygen mask effect that I'm talking about. If you don't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of anybody else. So taking care of yourself, making sure as we go through this time, go through this period of grieving, go through this period of dealing with loss, making sure you're taking care of yourself, making sure you're getting the support that you need, making sure that you allow yourself to cry when you need to cry, making sure you feel the pain of loss of Reverend Lonnie, making sure you feel the pain of loss that we feel when there's change around us and we don't want things to change at all. We want them to get better. We don't want them to change. And we try to hold on. We try to hold on. So I invite you to take a breath. That's the first thing you do to take care of yourself. You keep breathing. And really, as we're going through grieving, it's really important to take a deep breath often. Deep belly breathing, often. Drinking a lot of water, often. That's really important through going through the grieving process because it gets a chance to flush out all that stuff that we're releasing. This is not a nutrition class, but a lot of water is really important. It's really important. Really important. That's a part of our process. Going to our spiritual life coaches if we need prayer. When we need prayer. Not if, when we need prayer. Take advantage of the fact that people are here to support us in prayer. People are here to support us in just holding a space for us to move through whatever, because, once we start going through this grieving process, it triggers other stuff, other things that we may not have grieved properly, other losses we may have sustained and didn't deal with. All that could be triggered. So just making sure that somebody has your back, and that's what happens with the spiritual life coaches here who are available for prayer and for support. Supporting each other, loving each other. How awesome it is that the circles are available. I've heard announcements about the circles recently, and people talking about how they have bonded and what a great thing it has been in their lives. The circles are wonderful, bonding with each other, supporting each other, lifting each other up through this time. But also keep in mind that there are some people who are not in circles. Reach out to those people. Reach out to those who are not in your circle. We don't have to be limited to our own circle. Let's reach out to the entire community. Let's bond with the entire community. Let's support each other. Let's hold each other close, whether you're in my circle or not, whether you're in my tribe or not. We're all a part of the same tribe. God's tribe. Only one. Only one tribe. And so, yes, the circles are really important, and your circle mates are really important, and the love and support that you get there is really important. But it's also important to spread the love around. Spread it around out into the community. Let's all love and support and lift up each other in prayer, in love, and just knowing the truth that we are all walking in the love of God. Let's take a breath and just close our eyes for just a moment. And just breathe in and breathe out. And just allow your heart space to open. Just allow your heart space to open. And just say silently to yourself, I am walking in the love of God in this moment. I always walk in the love of God. Take a breath. I always walk in the love of God. I talk the love of God. I talk the love of God. And then make sure you do talk the love of God. Take a breath. And then finally say to yourself, I am the love of God. I am the love of God. Breathe that in. My legacy is a legacy of love. And then live that. Make that be true. Let that be true for you. My legacy is a legacy of love. So we breathe in and we breathe out. And we just allow this love to just flow through each and every one of us. Ernest Holmes says, only love knows love. And love knows only love. And so as we move through this time of loss and grieving, we keep our hearts open. We know that we are supported. We know that we're divinely guided. We know that we are divinely guarded. And we know that every moment of every day we are walking in the love of God. And so just place your hand over your heart space and just breathe in that love of God. And if you ever feel like you forget who you are and whose you are, just put your hand over your heart to remind you, I am the love of God. And then walk that out each and every moment of each and every day. I am the love of God. This is my legacy, the legacy of love, the love of God. And so just moving into prayer now, just recognizing that there's only one love, and that is the love of God. There's only one life, that is the life of God. There's only one power, one presence, one mind, one breath. It's all God. And this allness that is God is my very life and the life of each of us here this day. I'm just knowing that that power and that presence of God is in our midst right now, in this community right now, in this place of grieving right now, in this place of loss right now. Healing broken hearts, healing any broken places or anything that feels broken. The love of God maintains and sustains us. And so I speak a word of healing for each of us, of wholeness for each of us. Speak a word of love for each of us, that we release and let go of all the small stuff we may have been holding on to. Release and let go of those things that don't really matter anyway. Release and let go of anything that is unlike the love of God, right here and right now. And as we do this, our lives are made new. There's a new world that we step into when we step into this love of God. So I know that each of us dares to do that in every aspect of our lives, in everything that we do. I lift up this community in love and prayer, just knowing that God is right in the midst of everything that's going on. I bless Reverend Lonnie, who has shaken off the mortal coil and just goes on his way into the light. We bless him, we release him, we love him, knowing that he is the love of God. He knows what that feels like, that unconditional love. I lift up Reverend Michelle right here, right now, as she goes through the pain of her loss of Reverend Lonnie, just knowing that in the midst of that pain, God is, the love of God is, that there's all the support that she needs, all the courage, all the strength, whatever she needs is available to her right now It's being provided right now. But God is showing up as the thing itself, which is what God always does. Thank you, Father, Mother God. I lift up this community, knowing that God is in the midst. And this prayer goes out to anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day, knowing that God is right where each and every person is. I pause momentarily in this circle of prayer so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer this day. You may speak their names silently or loud, but you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, God is, love is, healing is. Thank you, Father and Mother God. Thank you, Divine Presence. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Infinite Mother. I'll just allow it to be now. And so it is.